welcome to another episode of Not Another Podcast by the Esports Social Club. I'm James Jimenez Cowan. Joining me on the couch is the usual crew of Sean Carlson, Jody McAleer, and Ian Paterna. How are you?
You always do it in that order. I thought maybe today I'd be first.
Well,
you weren't.
This is I'm a creature of habit. I wanted to.
I'm pretty sure he does it in like the way he ranks us in CSGO.
Seriously, Sean? Seriously?
Yeah.
We're going to do this right now?
Yeah, right here, right now.
You know I haven't played in so long.
Yeah.
I've only just set up my computer like 2 days ago.
You don't even know where your computer is.
It's just there.
For anyone that
Eyes
isn't
are
watching
here.
on YouTube, would you like to explain what
No,
is
you
on
know
this?
what?
I don't have to explain anything. If you want to know what's going on, check out YouTube.
Yeah, do
Oh,
better.
there you go.
Check out
Do
YouTube.
better.
Get your eyes across our YouTube. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Now, gents, we had an action-packed weekend. Obviously, last week we had a last-minute piece of content released prior to the weekend. We had Sean down at PAX and whatnot.
The 2 a.m. recording.
The 2 a.m. recording. That's because esports never sleeps, Sam. We even had selfies on the couch.
Yep, fun times.
It was super fun times.
Yeah, it was all right.
But you got to do what you got to do, mate. Like some of us take every chance we can to get a quick nap in.
That's
Yeah,
me.
don't give him anything on that one.
Yep.
No, absolutely nothing. Take your puns and start
You guys were
walking.
in my couch, so I couldn't nap.
Well, we had a podcast to record. But either way, as we said, we got some last minute content out, and even now this week, we are getting some content out again.
I feel like we got some exciting things on the horizon as well.
We do, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
First of all, do want to mention special shout out to Skrilla as well, supported us through our first 10 episodes of the Not Another Podcast, and special thank you to them, as we said, because they've been supporting us.
Yeah.
Because
We're
well,
sick.
we were sick, but but basically their strategy is to help support Aussie esports, and
They
they've done
got
a
us off the
fantastic job.
ground.
They did.
Yeah,
they got
they
us
did.
off the ground,
Mm.
and I think they've done a good job of also supporting Aussie esports, being involved with local market, getting their name out there. So a special shout out to them as well, esports betting and also fantasy esports as well. It's taken me 10 episodes, but Sean, I know, has been on my back about not getting that one right. But it's made it memorable, Sean. I think it's
You've got there.
yeah.
Finally in the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, more fantasy later on in the episode. But
Well, I
we
hope
wanted to have a
not.
chat about our weekend. Now, obviously, with the EXTREMESLAND qualifiers taking place at FBI in Sydney, it was good. It was good because it was a bit of a a throwback. Wind the clock back, Sean, yourself and I.
Yep.
We, outside of our regular podcast role, dropped some fire on the mic. It's safe to say that.
It was a good change.
It was definitely interesting. I don't know. It's been a very long time. I know I felt a little bit clunky on the mic there, but
Sounded good.
Some of the young talent we've got coming through. I mean, obviously everyone knows Conky,
Thank you.
But-
I am not that young anymore.
Matty B,
though.
yeah, definitely not you. My cast with you, that was just no. But Matty B as well kind of surprised me as well. He puts in a lot of effort behind the stuff that he does, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he continues to progress. Then Conky was great as well, so no, I had a lot of fun
And
casting.
the production was pretty good.
Yeah, production was pretty good too. So Sauce and the boys there from MC did a good job.
What about the other bloke? Our one YouTube listener.
Our one YouTube listener.
Our one YouTube listener.
Yeah, you did all right.
Billy.
I didn't cast with him.
Oh, wait, you're talking who you
Yeah,
specifically
I'm talking
casted
about who I
with.
casted
Okay.
with, Matt.
He
Right,
only,
right,
he
right.
only came to do the final, and gee, what a final
Yeah,
that was.
I'm sure
It's-
Billy
it's-
did a great job, but I didn't cast with him.
Right. No,
so-
I thought you were just talking like
No. I was talking
Right.
about specifically the people I casted with.
Okay.
Right. So
Yep. No, I'm on the
'cause
same
obviously
page.
you get more of a feel when you're
Yeah.
actually casting with them, and
Yeah, the closer.
It's been a hot minute since
Yeah.
we've casted any Counter-Strike, though, Sean.
yeah,
Let's be real.
I think I tried to work it out. It would have been WPGI Season 3 was the last cast I did.
Yeah, back in Perth.
Yeah.
Good place, Perth.
I obviously did the analyst test on Gfinity, but that's different.
It's casting. It's a
yeah,
different.
It's very different.
It's a different vibe. It's a different environment as well. Obviously, with casting, there's non-stop action, but you've also got to really articulate yourself. With the analyst desk, you can be a multitude of different roles, right? Like you're either setting the game up,
Yeah.
you're either doing that, or you're breaking it down, or alternatively, you're actually filling as well.
Yeah,
like they
well-
bounce around to the analyst desk if they've got
delays
a
and
section
stuff,
where
yeah.
there's a delay.
A lot of the analyst desk stuff is like preparation based.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mm.
while the game's happening, you have time to prepare what you're noticing, tendencies within the game, things you want to talk about, and then you come to the segment after a game or preparation. Even before the game, a lot of that's preparation as well. You're looking to these teams, you're looking at what's sort of happening.
Yeah, I'd
and-
say before the game is purely preparation, but mid-game, it's like you're just defining the narrative. Really.
100%. If you get thrown to mid-game, yeah, there's a bit of fill there and a bit of, but like compared to casting, which don't get me wrong, there's still preparation involved in that, but a lot of that is just on the fly. You don't know what
Yeah, I
maps you're
can just
getting.
do
You
that
don't
on
know.
the fly. When you get this good.
Yeah.
When you get back into it a bit more, Sean, hopefully you get picked up by a good TO. I thought you and Jim did pretty well.
Oh, thanks, Ian.
Yeah,
I really
thank you.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
It
no,
was-
I was pleasantly surprised. I thought you guys would be dog shit, but you actually hit it.
Well, we haven't exactly stopped talking since not
Actually,
casting.
and I remember you were saying you can actually really tell the difference that Gfinity made for you, and maybe even in supercars that you've been doing recently. The
More on the
difference
production
is
end,
you're just
yeah.
but just like the mannerisms and the talking, and it's not like you when I listen to the other casters like Conky and what was the other guy's
Matty.
name? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, you fell for that.
always.
They do a lot of the old and here and now and there and there and here and there, and that's what's going
yeah,
on there.
little bit.
Little bit like
To be fair, that's a very Australian mannerism.
I know, but it's all those things that when you listen to yourself, they're gone, and it makes it just a whole lot cleaner experience.
I'll be entirely honest and say that podcasting has actually helped with that as well.
Yeah,
Because there's nothing worse than trying to
bumble
listen to
through
yourself
your
back
words.
on a podcast.
Yeah,
And so they go, I would be quite comfortable in saying that podcasting has definitely helped with casting as well. I mean, all forms of speaking. Obviously, with casting, it's very much about fast articulation of your point, particularly if you're in a colour role.
Yeah.
Mac yourself on the play-by-play, you've got to get words out quickly.
Yep.
But not necessarily be that direct kill feed read, essentially.
So hold on a
Yeah.
second. Hold on. So what you're saying is if you're an aspiring caster out there and you want to get better at it, you need to start a podcast.
no,
Well, I
no,
think
no.
any form of being able to listen
Don't
to
do it,
yourself
kids.
back and really and seriously
I'm
be
hilarious
critical
when I listen to
of
myself
the
back.
way that you talk, you pick up your crutch phrases, and definitely just I know I deliberately did that one. I drop it in, but more or less be super critical, listen to yourself back, and week to week improve your craft. That's
Yeah.
it's a good way of doing it. As I was saying, Mac, you've casted a lot of Counter-Strike recently. A lot of Counter-Strike.
Yep.
Would
What
you
was it?
say?
I think there was close to like 60 maps over the 2 weeks I was over in Malaysia and back here
Yeah.
for the last couple of days.
60 trash.
I know we've sort of diverted a little bit, but do you ever find it challenging to not repeat yourself?
Yes, all the time. It's only if you have maybe like a week or a couple of day break where you come back in and you feel fresh, and no matter what you're saying, you're like, oh, cool, I haven't said that for a while because I
It's
haven't
been 3
casted for
days.
a while. That's the one. And then when you're doing back-to-back days, back-to-back series as well, you just are non-stop like, oh, I've said that so many times, got to move away from that. You got to find other phrases to sort of throw in, other different, I guess,
Or
routes to
you
take.
could just not and just sound the same every single cast.
Well, I know
like some people.
you've done work on particularly long events with Crossfire, Ian. Did
Yeah.
you find that? I mean, obviously a game that you're not native to as well. Do you find it maybe difficult at times to not be repetitive as well?
Oh,
Or-
absolutely. But then you just bring it back to like, this is the standard. This is how people play. So what else can you expect? You know, we're
Yeah.
going to say the same thing time and time again. The Crossfire is like, they've been playing Dust 2 for 10 years. How do you change up Dust 2? It's just like
Mm.
the same strategy time and time again. So you just say, oh, they're going for the brute force this way. Oh, they're going for the brute force this way. And then, oh, maybe they throw in a fake. It's like, well. And I, as the color caster as well, you're kind of like trying to give that impression that you know what's going on, and
the illusion.
you want to give the illusion of saying like, this is why they're doing what they're doing, and you can expect this to happen. And then when it does happen, it's like, yeah, boy. But when you're a play-by-play, it's like, yeah, your job is literally to mix it up, find other words, other ways of saying things, and reading a book and finding out some bigger words and 4 letters.
That's I mean, obviously.
Yeah,
Which is
good.
like my harshest
good.
criticism.
Yeah, good.
For all
2
of
4-letter
the-
words for you.
What
Yeah.
have you? more to you, Matt, because obviously you sit more in the play-by-play realm. Which, to be honest, I found myself more of a hybrid, but that's maybe because
You're
of
good enough.
different partners I've had.
Because you're good enough.
I was waiting.
Are you going for a long range
Did
strike?
you hear what he said? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Also,
Oh, it was
'cause-
just an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep my train of thought here, but it was more so due to different casting partners throughout the different tournaments and things like that.
Yeah.
That I've sort of flexed into both. But do you find yourself, Matt, with do you have any strategies to combat repetitiveness? Or is it maybe obviously having a wide array of words to say in the heat of the moment is not easy, right? Like,
Yeah.
Has there been any bits of advice that you've found super helpful to guide you on that path of not finding yourself too repetitive, or just not
Say it again.
saying the same things over and over?
I guess once you do it enough, you can tell when you're saying phrases, etc., that you've already said, especially in a single map. I feel like if you're saying it again in the next map and the story is the same, then that's when the repetition starts to come in. But the way that I've found to combat it is literally just doing VOD reviews and casting as much as you can. Just as much as you can. And it might not work for everyone, but it is a good way just to figure out how to, I guess, get your thought process correct, which is really weird to say because when you're casting, there's no time to think, but you still have to know when to say what, how to say it, how to pronounce your voice, I guess, like pronounce the words. Like sometimes you can be really loud and then you want to come back soft if it slows down for a moment, but use the volume of your voice, the tone of your voice, everything
You don't
just
want
slightly differently so you can sort of play with the emotions of people.
Yeah.
But that's something you don't think
even
about
then-
straight away, right?
No, right. Even like using dead air and not saying anything,
Yeah.
as well is also a super helpful tactic.
But I mean,
Go on, Sean.
It's like anything. It's practice, right? It takes practice.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of similar to casting. When I was in the hip hop world, back when I was a fair bit younger and things like that, and to be freestylers, and
Oh,
you'd
it's past tense.
you'd
I thought
start
you were still into
to
it.
you'd start to pick up on people as they're freestyling have the same filler words that they'd always use that they sort of fall back into, and the better you got and the more you did it, the more you expanded upon that, and you could actually then tell the difference between someone who's just starting versus someone who's been doing it for a long time based on how much they do repeat the sort of same rhyme schemes or sort of punchlines.
So in the casting world, we call that crutch phrase, having a crutch phrase, or something that you've constantly and repetitively said. Funnily enough, we actually, and this wasn't something we started ourselves, we thought it was a really good idea back when I first started getting into commentary. And I guess this is also sort of turned into a commentary panel because
yeah, I was going to
I
say
look
we should
across
probably,
here.
we'll talk about results soon, I'm sure.
yeah, but
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But I look across the couch here, we've got some fairly accomplished commentators in each regard. Like every one of us has done an extensive level of
Yeah,
commentary.
there's one or two.
There's one or two.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, as I was saying, it was submitted by one of our listeners, and it was a bingo card of crutch phrases.
What the? Who did that?
Of things that we used to say.
Oh,
I actually
never
can't
mind.
remember back
Nah,
in the
it's
day.
okay. No, I thought you were talking about this of the
Oh, for
podcast.
podcast.
Because
No.
I was going to do a bingo card for the podcast.
Oh, really?
That'd actually be funny.
Yeah.
I remember this, and it was put forward as a bingo card of certain phrases that myself, Jim, or Pete would say at the time.
It was
And
actually
it-
myself and PK. but
PK,
yeah.
Was it
gonna
PK?
say,
yeah,
Was it?
it was-
Okay,
it was
it was
PK.
going, we're going right back. But it was
we
a
had
drinking
real
game.
mannerisms.
I do remember that. It
Oh, there's
it was-
drinking
it was a
game.
drinking game.
There's
around
bingo cards as well.
Yeah.
And they're hilarious. But funnily enough, seeing a bingo card and actually having
To
all
avoid
your
hitting it.
all your key phrases outlined for you,
More misses.
you
than
become so much more cognizant of what you're actually saying and trying to actively avoid saying those things. Or if you do, you only try and knock them off once
Or-
per
or
cast.
the
Because everyone
opposite.
has their...
That's word of the day, by the way. Cognizant. I
Yeah?
like that.
You liked
that's
it?
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
cognizant. But the
We're
other
all
thing
about
you can
cognition.
do, there's two ways you can go about it. You can have your bingo where you try and avoid your crutches, your crutch phrases, and then you have your keywords that you want to hit. And I've seen
Okay.
a lot of like I think Karath did that as well, and some other people. But basically, you have a keyword list that you do your research to say like from my
Synergy.
VOD review, this is where I feel like I've repeated myself.
Yeah.
and then you go through the dictionary and you find some really elegant, nice language.
Some synonyms, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Thesaurus as
yeah,
well.
yes, it's some
They're
cinnamon,
extinct.
some paprika, whatever,
some
and
paprika,
you
spice it up.
write it down, and then you have that list in front of you, and then it's even
That's what I did on Gfinity. I did
Yeah.
exactly that. I went through and listened. I noticed I was saying some of my adjectives were a little bit repetitive. So I took a bunch of them, came up with a bunch of synonyms for them, and had them on a piece of paper in front of me.
I swear you're saying cinnamon, but
Cinnamons.
Synonyms.
Synonyms. Cinnamons. Another thing as well that
Do
I
not
found helped a lot, just getting your head around higher level CS knowledge, especially if you don't come into it with that level of knowledge like he has. Like you played back in the day.
Yeah, okay.
I came in from like CGA. Like the only reason I started casting is because the internet was terrible. Like I'd get too much lag at the time when I'd start playing. So
same.
instead of
Ironic,
bothering, it was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna start casting.
Well, it's ironic because people use bad internet as like an excuse for not being able to cast, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my internet's not good enough. I can't stream.
Yeah, okay.
If you want to do it that badly, you'll find a way.
So,
So
way. Oh wait, quickly. The point I was trying to make there as well, because my CS knowledge was pretty terrible. I found things like if you go to YouTube and watch Steele's demo breakdowns, POV demo breakdowns and stuff, they were really, really helpful at just
Honestly,
understanding
that
more
one
about
guy
the game.
getting banned was a travesty to North American Counter-Strike.
Well, I mean, he was on multiple fronts, wasn't he? He was like ahead of the game in terms of like his knowledge.
I had a lot of I felt like a lot of similarities between me and Steele. Like we were both perfectionists, emo rages, but we knew what we were talking about. And so we're impossible to get along with, but we have the best interests of the team at heart, and we know what we're talking about. And he fucked up with the whole betting thing, but for me, it was just people just couldn't get along with what I wanted to do, and there was no in the game. There was no friends. There was no teammates. It was just like you could do better.
I'm having real trouble looking at you right now.
Yeah,
Making eye contact with you.
sometimes I can't even
Well,
bear
what's
to look
wrong?
at myself.
I don't.
Big eyes. Which way are you looking?
No,
Can't tell.
he's got one eye on me and one eye on the future, I think.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I mean, and I saw him tweeting just the other day for a tangent.
Yep.
And he was saying about this is what you need to do to be a good IGL, and this is what they have to put up with. And I was like, are we the same person? So weird.
I can relate to everything.
Yeah,
said.
he's like,
Yeah.
man, everyone on the team has to be down with your plan, otherwise it's just shit. And I don't know what Daps is doing, but
Oh, that thread, yes.
yeah, it's like if there's just one person on your team who doesn't agree with it, like that's not going to work.
What comes back to that old saying? There's 100 ways to win a Counter-Strike round, but the team needs to agree on a way that they're going to do it together. If you're all
Yeah.
on the same page, if you've got two players thinking the round should be done this way, and a couple players thinking it should be done this way, and your in-game leader's trying to bring it all together, it's you might get some rounds on the board,
But then you have the
you're
other
struggling.
saying, which is like, you'd rather have a, what is it? Lion led
Yeah.
by a lion, 100 sheep led by a lion, than 100 lions led by a sheep. Some junk like that. I don't know, fucking proverbs and shit. some Buddhist.
Yeah, that one's a real proverb.
Yeah, but like for real though, like if your in-game leader is strong enough to lead, they will lead.
And this isn't just CSGO. This transfers across all esports titles.
Yeah.
Oh, this is how we become an esports podcast, by
Yeah.
the way. We talk about
Just need
esports.
to tie
just-
that in.
We just
Well,
go very
isn't
specific
Steel
and
from
blanket.
Overwatch now.
Oh,
Like,
beautiful.
Potentially, yeah. Well, there's a lot of really interesting sort of esports going on right now. We are going to come back to the results in EXTREMESLAND, but obviously we've got we've got PUBG this weekend. That's to qualify for the World Championships in the States.
Yep. I was going to round out our casting segment and just say, look, despite it's like riding a bike. You don't forget.
yeah.
You can do a million different things in between. I feel like I have between casting, Gfinity, and then coming back to it. I've done a million different things in between, but when you come back, it's like riding a bike. You don't forget. You know.
Well, I mean,
goes live.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that.
And
I
you-
don't work all the time.
I was gonna say you've done very few events recently,
Yeah.
but
I'm
you
very selective.
very. When you
When
can
I
afford to be,
when I
right?
get asked, but also, yeah, I can.
Well,
afford
do you
to be.
ask? I don't know.
Yeah.
You should be asking, man.
Yeah, you should try asking.
I will. I mean, look, if there's anything in Sydney that's a weekend, I can do it.
Yeah?
If
Okay.
and not ridiculous hours and silly call times, I can do it.
And crap rates.
There's a bit of criteria
I
around.
don't care about the rates, to be honest. But it would be good to. But the thing is, the game sucks right now. But anyway, we'll get into that
CS
some
is
other
very
time.
feels in a weird space, right?
Yeah.
What
But
about like the amount of overtimes that Henry G's called, spotting it from like 8 rounds out from
You
the end
can
of the
tell.
game, and he's just like,
yeah.
looking
Actually,
at the economy, probably
it-
overtime.
It's an art, but you can super just tell. You
Yeah.
can just tell. And
Also-
plus, he watches their games all the time, just like you watch Aussie games.
Yeah.
So you just know what their strengths and their weaknesses, and it's like this team needs all the money in the world to win a round.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
and then you go, oh, they're not saving up money to buy. They're probably just going to get OT then.
we'll spin back around to that in a second. Though.
Yeah.
But you're right, Sean. There's a lot of esports happening right now. As you said, there's
Yeah.
PUBG qualifiers for the United States.
That's
Where
the
two
world-
teams go, right? Two teams go.
I believe it's just one. Actually, I could be wrong there. It might
I think
be
it's two. I
I thought,
did
is
see
this
the-
not
okay.
the Omen thing?
No.
No.
This is for PUBG World Championships. That's supported by PUBG Corp and things like that.
Mm.
There's
This is the thing at ESL Studios this weekend.
Is this the
correct.
Red Bull Fight or
you
Flight?
can buy you can buy tickets online.
I'm not sure if it's the Red Bull Fight or Flight.
No,
It's
no, no.
definitely the ANZ
This
land finals.
weekend is AUNZ Championship Finals,
Correct, yes.
so that's going to be the land finals,
Oh,
and then Red Bull Fight or Flight is a different
November
event.
1st.
Yeah, that's a different event.
Yes, that's right.
So the winner of this
Glad you're on
weekend, AUNZ, is going to get themselves a spot to the PUBG World Championships. That is in the States, so that's a pretty big trip too. You go over there, you're in LA for a little while. If you get through the group stage, you then go to Oakland. It's in Oracle Arena in Oakland as well, which is pretty exciting. It's a big arena there.
Have you been?
Currently, we've had I haven't been. Ian, have you been?
No.
No.
Are you
Okay,
planning on
good.
going?
I am actually. I'm going to be there. So that aside, though, there's also Dota 2 right now, Nations Cup that's
Mhm.
happening. We have two
Yep.
Australian teams there. We
Clash
have
of Nations?
Yeah, is it Clash of Nations or Nations Cup? One of the two.
Mm.
That's happening right now in Thailand, in Bangkok. We've got two Australian teams there at the moment, Team Oracle and Team Athletico. So that's super exciting. So there's a couple of things happening right now with Australian teams, sort of with opportunities to go overseas and
Well-
teams overseas right now.
Do you think? Okay, so funnily enough, This is gonna. Yeah. What was that? Ian?
Are we ever getting back?
Onto what?
Zowie.
Okay, fine. We'll get back into that. All right, cool.
As soon as he's like, oh well, that now you mentioned that, Sean.
There was a
actually-
few. We'll talk about Zowie, but we'll also talk about an article I saw come out after Zowie, which was CSGO to Asia, which then ties into this, which was Tux talking about OCE
Talent farm.
being a talent farm, and
Yeah.
it's probably starting to come to light in those two games you just highlighted in
Yep.
PUBG
Both those games.
and in Dota 2. But Ian, yes, Zowie, it was a good event.
EXTREMESLAND. The EXTREMESLAND
Zowie EXTREMESLAND.
OCE qualifier. Top two teams go through to someplace. China.
Yeah. And it was a good event just to cut our teeth back on as commentators, but also in terms of being overseas opportunities for the teams that were invited. In OCE, we've for a long time talked about having opportunities and multiple opportunities for teams to showcase their
it's gonna get
wares
Spicy. I can feel it.
overseas.
Yep.
But obviously with Greyhound, Order, Avant, and of course Chiefs all in the one place, we looked at that land and we were like, this is finally the top four teams playing each other in a LAN environment. What could, what more could you want? What more could you want, Matt?
It's the
Well,
first time.
Exactly.
You could want dates not to clash with other.
Oh, here we go.
Tournaments.
Dive straight in.
I mean,
I
look,
don't want to
let's-
touch it till we get it sorted.
Yeah, but
Well, it's still being sorted, right?
It's still being
Yeah,
sorted.
yeah,
We don't
still
have to
being
go
sorted.
too far into it, but we can't avoid it. It's been out on Twitter. Everyone's spoken about it.
Yep.
We, in a region that doesn't have heaps of tournaments, let's
Now's
be
your
real,
chance, man.
compared to EU, compared to NA, they don't seem to have the same sort of clashing problems. Here in Australia, we have a situation right now where teams are potentially not going to be able to do one or the other at the risk of, potentially losing spots in certain leagues.
Yep.
Over not just this season, but into next season.
ESL Pro League.
Because there's clashing dates. Now, we don't know whose fault it is. ESL claim they've
It's-
had their
it's not our
dates locked down. And no, we don't
Yeah.
know. We don't know any of that
Well, it's
stuff.
not our position to say.
However,
right?
we do know that there is a clash of dates right now, and teams are going to have to make a decision. And given, the importance of Pro League overall and the fact that it runs multiple seasons, a lot of these teams are going to have to prioritize that. You cannot blame them for that. However, there is a situation now where we don't know who's going to EXTREMESLAND. Can any of you guys definitively tell me who's going to EXTREMESLAND?
We don't know the outcome of the
No.
situation.
No.
But to be fair, none of us sit on that TO side of, the discussion.
No.
in that sense. So, like as we said, it's not our place to
I have an opinion.
say who's fault.
Tell
it
us
is,
your
but
opinion.
Give us your opinion, Ian.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so
Here we go.
where I come from is
Perth.
little town in Perth.
Okay.
No, let's go further back than that.
Oh, all right.
Before
All right.
Perth, I was in a smaller country town called Narrogin. And in Narrogin, we had a saying. And the saying was, don't leave your bike unlocked in the bike rack. But
Is that specifically from your little town?
Someone will rack it.
the moral of that story is, let's not worry about who's to blame. Let's not go, oh, XTO set this date and knowing XTO had this date. Let's go down the other side of things where we say, let's give the players as many opportunities as we possibly can. If it's in our power and if we have the avenue to give them another date, like maybe we should just look into doing that. Now, I'm saying these words and they might be very easy to say, and to move the dates for, say, ESL, the Pro League qualifiers that are completely online, that might be hard for them to move those dates.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear, oh, it's Zowie's fault. They knew the date. I don't want to hear, oh, it's the players' fault. They got an email with the date in it. Like, I want to hear, yep, this has happened. Now let's just see if we can get more Aussie teams overseas. Who's with me?
I agree.
Hurrah!
Well, ultimately, you want to have as many opportunities to go overseas, right? Like you don't. Here's the thing: what you don't want is two events effectively cancelling each other out and nobody getting anything.
And then we
Yeah.
go, is this exclusivity? Is that what it looks like?
Well, let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. But I get where you're coming from. But what I want to bring
You
up
with
to
me,
that.
Okay.
Yeah. What I wanted to bring up in regards to that is you're right. We're not looking like there's no at this point now that the only reason you'd want to work out why this has happened. I'm not saying where you place the blame, but why this has happened
Dick
is
move.
to potentially to prevent this in the future. Right?
Yeah.
We
Of course.
need to make sure these
Oh,
things don't
jeez.
happen again. We don't want to be in a situation
Let's
where
do-
there's overseas opportunities for Australian teams where, I mean, Extremesland for a team like Greyhound or any of our top 4 teams
Anyone.
right now is a real opportunity for them not just to go over and perform well, potentially to win.
I mean, these guys are so good. They won with a girl. They won with an admin.
Oh, yeah.
That's how good they are.
I'd say they won with a stand-in. I'll leave that one alone. But
They won with a female CS player standing into their team. We love Ash.
well, what does that say about Dick, though?
It's not-
Well,
it's not,
it's not
looking good.
Ian, hello? What
it's
is
not as good as people say it is.
Jeez.
that? Anyway, so let's bring this right back.
I'm just looking at this one.
The
Well,
results
go
have
on,
happened.
dude.
We've seen Greyhounds win, as
Yeah.
Ian pointed out. They actually versed Order in the grand final, which was really good from them.
Was it hard?
Well, they had a lower bracket run. Order had a lower bracket run. They were knocked down in the lower bracket on day one, first match by Greyhounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They then had to go through and beat Avant initially because Avant lost to Chiefs in what was a really close series.
Yeah. They were the two series that I commentated.
they
was
were
Order
Really close.
and
It was
Greyhound.
a bit of a
and
surprise
Chiefs
for
Avant.
me. Avant, I think, overperformed that weekend.
Well, yeah. See, Avant ended up coming last, right, in the grand scheme of things, but their games were incredibly close. So their game against Chiefs, they probably should have closed it out on second map, which would have been a 2-0. Unfortunately, they didn't, and then Chiefs ended up 2-1-ing them. Their game against Order was a 2-0 to Order, both maps in overtime. So this is a young team, one of the young sort of up-and-coming teams, as we refer to, who's had a pretty good performance, but just unable to get it done in the clutch moments where I think experience plays a huge factor. We have Order on the flip side of that, having a pretty rough start against Greyhounds. They did go OT in the second map, I think it was, before losing that 2-0. Coming through the lower bracket, winning a 2-0 in overtime against Avant, and then having a pretty solid performance against Chiefs. I think Chiefs looked a little bit off that game. From speaking to the Chiefs boys, they had their eyes on the prize. They thought that they'd be able to sort of get past Order, I wouldn't say easily, but they were focusing on Greyhounds. They were focusing on the grand
Yeah.
final. Their heads were in the next game, and that kind of cost them a bit, I think, as far as the way that they performed. Order played really well. I'm not taking anything away from them, but the Chiefs we saw the day before against Greyhounds versus the Chiefs we saw that day against Order were two different teams. But then Order went all the way through to the grand final. Now, at this point, I feel like with Greyhounds with a stand-in, we all kind of thought that this was going to be. Well, I know I did. I
A
thought
whitewash?
I thought Order was going to be able to take take the series. Nothing
Wasted
against the
opportunity.
stand-in or anything like that, but it's very difficult. You go
Wasted
into
it,
a LAN grand final without having your full roster, which means your strats all have to be adjusted. It is a pretty big hit. So
I saw some really good individual plays from Order that weekend, but the teamwork was trash. I mean, for them to beat Chiefs, I think that was Chiefs underperforming, and I think that showed in the grand final. And I don't care for this. You know, why we're here. This tournament isn't important. Kind of BS. Like they were all there. You want to win.
Yeah.
Greyhounds are the ones with the pride. They can't afford to lose because they've been dominant in the scene for so long.
well, you don't get to where these guys have got to without some sort of ego, right?
Right. No,
need-
well,
you
it's,
need-
not, it's not even that, right? It's like reputation.
Yeah,
not gonna get,
reputation.
You're not going to get your overseas like invites if there's like, oh, you went. What about Zowie? Oh, that looks like they're not a very good team anymore. They lost to Order. Like something like that. It's a lose-lose situation for Greyhound. Even if Dick was there and they won, it's like it's good that they won for Greyhounds because that's the team that has been dominating Australia for so long, undisputed number one. And then if they were to go into this tournament and it's like a PAX where there's like laptops and, you know, the competitive integrity's at stake, and then they lose, no one from the outside sees that. They just see, oh, Greyhound lost that game.
Let's
Yeah,
see
so
result.
that's why it's important that Greyhound won, even with the stand-in. But then I just am so puzzled at how that happens. Like, Order must have honestly just shit the bed. And then I go, if I'm management for Order, I'm not pleased about that performance.
That's
No
pretty
way.
Safe, pretty safe to say.
In the
I don't
grand
think they would
scheme,
be.
though, that match didn't mean much.
Nah,
Like,
that doesn't
they-
mean anything to me.
Yeah, of course.
On
That didn't mean
paper-
anything to the millions of bettors out there that were screaming about the result.
Oh, you
but
sh-
I can promise you both teams went into that game wanting to win. I know both teams had already qualified
Yeah.
and it was for seedings, but there's so much more at stake.
both
this was-
teams went into that wanting to have fun.
No,
I'm
That was
with
the
Matt.
only thing they were
I
playing
don't
for when
feel
they were there.
like-
They were all laughing until Greyhound actually won that first map.
Yeah.
Then Order got a kick in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm
Look-
Order and I'm just like, I just lost to an easy grand final. Like, you only get a couple of nats. Everyone's talking about how this is the first time the top 4 teams have
Yeah.
been in the one
Very
room.
rarely do you get it.
And you're just going to throw it away? Like, what the fuck? Like,
And look,
that's-
to be fair though, I mean, you know, Ash actually, or White Girl Wasted, the stand-in for Greyhounds, actually played really well, considering she's at a LAN final against Order. I mean, there's one round that stands out in my brain that I think a lot of people would have seen if you'd followed this.
Is it
Was
2v1 on Mirage?
was the 1v2 on Mirage
Yep, yep.
where she's clutched that. She's clutched a 1v2 against Order on LAN. You know, and this is a
which
stand-in
Order
who-
players were it? Can you remember?
Emag was the last alive, and he was
Someone
up
just got
on top
shot.
of triple, and Ash was going around triple, and then just like flicked up and saw him and
So
killed him.
he's planted behind triple after she's just killed his teammate. He knows she's
through the
CT.
smoke. Through the
She's
smoke.
lurked up as he's jumped up onto triple, and he's had no idea. He hasn't seen her. So she's just pretty much just looked up and finished him off
You
and
just
defused the
can't count
bomb.
on brilliance, that's all.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. So,
Well, she had a creek.
and she had
Let's
a
be
pretty
real.
good first map as well. She was in double digits. She wasn't bottom of the scoreboard for most of the map. So,
Wow, okay, Sean.
anyway, so she's had a pretty good showing, considering, you know, I don't think she's actually playing competitively for any teams at the moment.
I don't think so.
She's,
They came second in the
Well,
female
I
league.
did ask her if she wanted to be on the couch, and she has said yes. So,
Okay,
her on at
cool. We
some
might
point.
get her on and have a chat one day.
absolutely, yeah.
But overall, interesting results. Order coming second. That's going to be a bit of a letdown for them. They probably should have come through and won that. Would have been good for them. For anyone looking from the outside in and going looking at results, it would have been good for them to get a win over Greyhound.
Good to go back-to-back lands. Too, for
Yes,
them.
absolutely. I was really impressed with the young Avant team. Obviously, they came fourth, but they showed a lot of spirit and a lot of talent around the way that they played.
Came dead last.
Chiefs had moments where they looked phenomenal, and I mean, I was casting some of those games, being like, Chiefs are back.
Yeah.
You know, they've finally put down the WoW, and they've come in and they're playing really well. Their
Yep.
series
It's the
against
wow
Greyhounds. Their series against Greyhounds was definitely winnable for them. I feel like they actually let that game slip, and that was against the full force Greyhounds. However, their follow-up matches, their follow-up match against Order wasn't pretty, like Ian pointed out.
Yeah.
But it was really good to see the top 4 teams at LAN playing against each other. I think that the top 4 now is super solid. I think at any given moment, other than Greyhounds, obviously just being a little bit of a step ahead, the Order, Chiefs, Avant sort of situation, any given moment, these teams can beat each other. So
I don't know.
Order lost Nuke last night against Genuine again.
Yeah, that's online though.
Yeah, I know.
To be
Yeah.
fair though, it is genuine. They're probably the nearest contenders to that top 4.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
be
for right
interested
now.
to see more a genuine versus
Yeah,
Avant.
They're 100% sitting pretty at that just outside the top 4,
Yeah.
trying to crack in.
Just in
So,
terms of consistency, I think like they've got a high skill ceiling.
yes,
It's just that they got to knuckle down on that consistency factor. The criticism of them was the fact that they weren't used to playing a lot of competitive matches in a short space of time. So the burnout factor for them was high in the sense that once you get worked out, like they got worked out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have the fallback, nor did they have the time to go back to the drawing board to be able to tweak anything.
And I honestly think that's where Order's at right now. Like, I think they got Valiance in, and they introduced him to their system, but they've just got that system.
The system's the same.
It's the same. They've got nowhere to fall back. So Genuine come on, they watch the whole EXTREMESLAND, they see Order get pulled apart by Greyhounds with the stand-in. They know what's up. And Order don't have anything to fall back on. I think it's very easy when you're a top dog. It's very easy to, the underdog to come in and say, "Hey, I know exactly how you play," and especially if you're Greyhounds, if you're Order, if you're Chiefs, and you just had that land exposure. Like your next couple of matches, you're very vulnerable.
As a team that cemented your spot, you're never punching down. You're always punching up, right? You're looking to take the next person out above you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily going to look to punch down on a team.
You should
below
though,
you.
right? You should.
You should.
Like if I'm Order and I've lost to Genuine before on Nuke, I should be looking and going, "How did that happen?" Everyone jump in. Let's have a look at their demos, see how they play it, and then obviously see how we play it and see what they might try and do. That's the most you can do.
What worked for them last time? What
Yeah.
are they likely to do?
But does anyone get the feeling there's just like something off about this Order lineup? Like they beat everyone except Greyhounds, but it still doesn't seem like you look at the star power on that team, Ali, Ustilo,
I think,
and now Valiance, and you're just like, well,
before it was like, oh, things aren't working. Mercury's in retrograde, so it must, stars aren't aligning.
When they had the Sicko Hats combo and ins and things still weren't working, then it was like, well, okay. Like, it's good. They were working once upon a time, but now they're not. Leah's left. Ins is in. They should work again, right? It feels pretty same for same. But
yeah, I don't know. It's always been maybe the pressure of expectation in the sense that everyone's expecting that this roster is now finally able to do what we all thought they should be able to do. Yeah. And then internal expectations are always different to external expectations, but at one point, external expectations are going to affect internal expectations.
I think, though, the fact that Order have won or came second at Zowie Land, but still took down both Chiefs and Avant when people were saying that Order was like about to drop out of the top 4.
Yeah, do you think people...
Well, can continue.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you think people are going to ignore that? Like, looking at the grand final result? Like, ignore those good results?
I guess so. Like, everyone was taking maps off of Greyhound this weekend, or that weekend. So, it's good to see that everyone is starting to try and catch up. Greyhound might not have been in full form.
Yeah, I don't
There was also the situation, like, because of the clash, people came to the LAN going, oh, does this LAN mean anything?
Yeah,
First couple of games,
massive caveat on
massive cloud of sort of...
Yeah, so no
confusion.
one heading into it really looked like they wanted to be there, especially that first map you saw Inferno, which was Order's map pick, was 16-4 or 16-5 or something.
Yeah.
That Greyhound just absolutely demolished them on.
Yeah.
And it just looked, if you were watching that map, you were just like, they are not playing together.
Yeah, but it was also just like, we're here.
Yeah.
We just got the news yesterday that there's a clash, and now it's like this tournament is obviously the one that's going to fall because it comes around once a year. They can qualify again, but Pro League, you get banned or whatever if you duck out of that, and there's so many other reasons. So I can see why they're a bit dejected and maybe didn't put in full effort. And also that game didn't mean anything because it's a double elim best of 3. So, you can afford to lose one here, and you look at your other opponents, you go, it's just Chiefs, it's just Order, just Avant. And then I think that's when they were a bit shocked because they're not playing particularly well at the moment. And in my opinion, Avant overperformed to get even close to the wins that they nearly got in the overtimes.
Yep.
And I think Chiefs are on that rocky road to recovery. And I think they kind of underperformed a little bit. And the individual brilliance of Order is what literally got them across the line against both of those teams. And then you come up against Greyhounds, and I think if they had Dick, if the Dick was there, they would have got put to the sword a lot quicker. It would have been 2-0, really easy game.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. And
Yeah,
looking
that's
at how Order are playing as a unit right now, like they're literally just individual brilliance personified. Like every time it's like the Krieg or the SG, whatever you want to call it, they're at home with that gun, the whole team. And then you look at Greyhounds and like one guy's using a Krieg max.
Yeah, they're sticking to the AK.
Do you think it's also the matchups? So what I'm asking you is, like, obviously, do you think that Order play better against Chiefs than they do against Greyhounds, but Chiefs play better against Greyhounds than they do against Order, etc., etc.? Like some of these matchups are now, it's so tight.
Oh, you mean
between
like
these
a
teams.
triangle of doom kind of thing?
Yeah, well, you got the water beats fire.
Yeah,
Fire
we don't see him
beats
play enough.
Tree beats water, whatever.
I want to see him play more.
No, we need to see some more matches. But that's what I'm asking. Do you think that could be playing into the results?
I mean, there's the map pool, and no one wants to play Vertigo.
Well, you can see why.
There's so much Nuke. There's so much Overpass. There's so much Inferno. There's so much Mirage. What I was interested in, that like, Dexter had literally just done an article where he was talking about they focus on Mirage, and then Chiefs come in and they're just like, see ya, and they take out Mirage almost like. So for me, that was like, whoa, okay, Chiefs are actually, they're here. Like Chiefs are back.
Chiefs had some phenomenal individual skill rounds in that map. There was that 2v5 on the A bomb site where they've literally just spammed through the smoke at Con towards where the bomb was planted, and they've killed all 5 players and secured the round. Saved themselves in the game as well.
Oh,
at one
the smoke
point.
round,
Yeah, the smoke round.
The blitz.
They've saved themselves in the game as well on multiple rounds where, look, let's be real, the Deagle meta or the Force buy meta is still huge in our region. The amount of sort of pistol buys that we'd see teams go through multiple gun rounds, get forced back onto a pistol buy, and then actually get their first round win on a Force buy. Go back to buying guns and then start.
I mean, that to
failing
me,
more risks. So-
to me,
more risks.
yeah,
Yeah,
that just
100%.
shows so much about LAN. That shows so much about disorganized gun rounds and disorganized anti-ecos. Like that to me, that's terrible. Like the people are doing the most wrong thing possible sometimes.
Do you think it comes into like with it, you say strats and counter strategy and stuff like that?
Yeah.
If you're playing your gun rounds, you sort of go into your mode of
Your
like,
shell.
oh, we're playing like, oh, you almost use your subconscious, you go autopilot to some degree, right? Whereas when you go into these pistol rounds, it's like, all right, what can I do creative here? Well, I've noticed they keep sending players here or there, or I reckon a palace push.
Exactly.
If
You get
flash
creative
me
on
in.
your pistol rounds.
100%.
And then also, like, people buy Deagle armor and then they run around like a madman, and that's when they get their kills.
Yeah.
It's like, well, dude, really you should have some more caution because you got a shit gun. You should be taking it easy. You should be playing smarter. Get that cheeky pick here and there. And then when you're on your gun round, when you have all the guns in the world, that's when you should be like...
And utility support.
And utility support. That's when you should be a little bit creative, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's when you just see, like, that's why we get wrecked when we go overseas. And I think that's pretty much what Dexter said. Like, when we play scrims, there's no pressure, and we just do what we think is right at the time within our boundaries, within our strategies.
Well,
and
even
tactics.
then, like on those force buys and eco rounds, there's no pressure.
Oh, yeah. And like the amount of force buys we'd win in prac, it's just like, whoa, what happened there?
Yeah.
And then they get into the comp game and they're up against a decent team like Astralis or whatever, and they're just like, oh, I got a gun, finally.
Better not waste it.
Better hold my spot. Better
Let's-
hold my line.
What setup
like-
are we doing? Oh, let's do this setup. Okay. And then it's like, wait. And then it's like, what are Astralis doing? Oh, okay. When Astralis do this, we'll do this. It's like, mate, that's already too late. Astralis have got you figured out.
Yeah.
And they're coming for you, and they're going to get a kill. They're going to get the entry. And then when they get the entry, they're going to go more. And then you're going to be on the back foot going, are they going more? Are they sitting around? Are they waiting? Are they doing this? So, yeah, for me, it's just like, it's all confidence based. And a lot of it is LAN as well. Like we said, how often do we see these top 4 teams on LAN together? And
Yeah.
that's why I'm just like, I can't believe people are throwing games, you know?
Well, even then, they're like, oh, the game doesn't mean much. It's a bit of a cop-out, right?
Absolute cop-out.
Bit of a cop-out saying that because, as you said, relish the chance to just assert some dominance.
If you're good enough to win, you'll win.
Well, there's a reason, too, that both Greyhound and Chiefs were directly invited to that LAN final, right? Like, they didn't have to scrap their way through
No.
any qualifiers of any sort to get there. Like,
Yeah.
it's because in previous iterations, they've performed at that event. The organisers saw their previous performances in high-stakes competitions as being worthy of inviting them
And
to.
for Chiefs, this is a really important competition. This is an overseas qualifier
Without
that
back-
you can go to.
Yeah.
And they can't go to
Correct.
the other one with the Clash.
Yes, they can.
Can they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pro League?
They go to both. So
Oh.
actually, they're
Yeah, they
both.
can go to
I
Pro
stand
League.
corrected.
Both
I don't know
very
when that got
important.
changed, but
That's a while ago. Both Pro League, Dream, they can do all those events now.
It's
There's
only-
no-
it's only the
Valve.
majors.
Only Valve.
Yeah, it's just the majors.
But either way, like statistically, they have less opportunities.
way less. Yeah.
2 less per year.
Yeah.
So
And
that's a big
you can,
comp.
you can arguably say the two of the most prestigious, right? They're the ones.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
So the reason why people could be like, this grand final doesn't matter is purely just because it was Order and Greyhound had both secured their spots overseas in a world where they can attend.
True. But also in a world where they feel as though their seating's going to, matter, right?
Do you think
Like,
it'd be fair?
coming into some of these, coming into Extremesland,
Yeah.
like surely, there's the confidence back going, we can do this. Like, Greyhound, for example, no pressure on them because they're confident enough that whatever seed they get, they'll be able to do battle and do well in Extremesland. So like no pressure on them. And even, Order following in their footsteps going, well, actually, we rate ourselves as well. So when we go over to Extremesland, we're not really too worried about what seed we get because each team they see on an equal plane.
Yeah. I feel like for Greyhound, like they want the most exposure and experience that they can get, and going on those international boot camps big competitions as well is the most invaluable experience that they can get at the moment, because they've been getting a lot of it, and the more that they get, the more that they can continue to improve. Their potential to go and live and play overseas is definitely getting higher because they're able to compete. Whereas if you had like Chiefs or Order or Avant, any of them winning Pro League, just because they haven't had that experience for a long time, I feel like it's almost like a wasted opportunity. It's a good opportunity because they'll be able to get some experience, which is like the trade-off, but performance-wise, you can't really see them doing anything astronomical like Greyhound are currently starting to do. And the other thing as well, with Extremesland, if Greyhound have to dodge that, then there's no miracle moment where they play August.
Yeah, right. No
wanna see
Aircast
that.
matchup.
No one's thought about that.
Yeah.
The potential.
I think going back to the statement you just made, I think what you're trying to say is, from a standpoint for our region and overall, we want to see Greyhounds go overseas to take these opportunities because they've proven that they perform the best, right? They've performed well overseas.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. I still think that it's important for teams like Chiefs, Order, and Avant as well to get these opportunities to then
I agree.
to be able to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Right? When Greyhound first started going overseas, we didn't know what was going to happen. Their first initial runs overseas weren't the greatest. Right? We got excited when they were just taking maps off teams. Yeah. And then
Taking
still end
rounds.
up, taking rounds, taking maps.
Starts with rounds.
From the amount of opportunities they've been able to generate for themselves, they've gotten themselves to a position now where it's paid off big time and they're able to perform at a level on the international stage that we love to see. For that to happen for the other teams and for because all these teams complain about the lack of ability to scrim back home here in Australia. Like if you're overseas boot camping and you're scrimming in Europe, you have so many different opportunities to verse teams from different regions, different play styles.
Yeah.
You come back here and it's the same teams you're versing. At the end of the day, it's just like a counter-strat sort of recycling system that it's just basically.
The thing is, everyone goes over there. You go over, you practice against the best teams in the world. You practice against just other random teams in the world. It all helps, and you get further ahead if you can think of it as like snakes and ladders. You go up a ladder every time you go overseas.
Correct.
And these guys don't have full-time jobs, so they just go over, and they go over as long as they can early enough.
Yep.
And they boot camp, and this is fantastic. So the same goes for Order. If they were to win or anyone else is to win, they go over. As long as you go over early enough, you get a boot camp, you're going up a ladder.
Yeah.
You come back to Australia, that ladder progression stops. It just flat stops.
Yeah.
And
then everyone else, when they verse you, that's them going up the ladder.
So, a good example of that is Avant at their minor run, right? They didn't get to the stage they wanted to get to. But prior to them going over to that minor and securing that spot, they weren't in the same conversation with the sort of Greyhounds, Chiefs and Order on a consistent basis. Everyone had a
Well,
top...
there was no consistent
but
basis. They
everyone
played
had
no
a-
competitions.
Yeah, but everyone had a top three,
Yeah.
right? Everyone had a top three. And then it was the teams like Ground Zero at the time, Genuine, Avant, and things like that. Avant came back from that tournament and were able to cement themselves into the mix with the top 4. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they got that opportunity to go overseas, climb that ladder, as Ian says. And I mean, the same is going to be for Order. The same is going to be for Chiefs. Any of these teams take this Pro League opportunity, they are going to shoot up.
Yeah.
Right. And given how tight things are at the top of CS here at the moment, and you also look at how stacked some of these rosters are, who are kind of underperforming right now. Maybe it is because it's a bit stagnant here in AU. Maybe that's what Order needs. Maybe Order just needs 3 or 4 weeks overseas in Europe, boot camping and playing some international teams to come back and go, right, it's all starting to click now.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then they could be stronger than Greyhounds.
Lineup, I mean, fuck.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. So while I agree with what you're saying, and I also come down, I'd love to see the best team. Like I think the same for like PUBG and stuff. There's PUBG this weekend. I really want Atletico to qualify. They're currently ranked 4th in the world. If they qualify, I expect to see them play really well in an international tournament. However, if they are to lose that and we are to have another team go across, I will be sad that Ath aren't there. But that being said, it's going to give so much experience to another group of players.
I think in Australia, I mean, guys, I know we have the worst tall poppy syndrome in the world.
Oh, it's
And
not,
so like
not just as
Greyhounds
far as
winning all the
players are
time.
concerned either.
Yeah, exactly. So Greyhound winning all the time. People are like, oh, I wish my friends would win for once. I'm a big fan of Order. I wish Order would win for once. It's like, no, that's not how it works, dude. If you're the best team, you win. And if this team is the best and they're going to stay the best, I like that just as much as having one team win every single time. Like, oh, how competitive is Australia right now? Man, I don't want to be down here just fucking with the fish. I want people jumping out of the water and reaching dizzying heights overseas. And if that's Greyhound, they're our best shot right now. I want Greyhound winning every time. Just getting better and better and better until someone says, oh, let's buy Greyhounds. They're a better team than Complexity. And then next thing you know, Order's the number 1 team in the country, and it's Order and Chiefs, Order and Chiefs, Order and Chiefs. And then Order keep going over. And then eventually, like, that's how I see things
overall,
going. Yeah.
Just quietly fucking with the fish.
I don't know. I made shit up. I just went with on the fly.
All right.
He's been playing heaps of
It's-
Fortnite. They got
it's-
fish in that now.
It's spawned some interesting conversation, that's for sure.
All right.
But boys, either way, look, I think there's some interesting, opportunities that potentially could be missed out on, and that's where we need. Hopefully, it can be sorted out.
Back to Narragen's story. Let's worry about that later. Let's get these teams to both events, and then worry about that later.
Yeah.
The way that I see it is send Greyhound to EPL, send Order and Chiefs over to Zowie eXTREMESLAND, and then 3 teams get international opportunities, and everyone comes back.
I mean,
a little
I'd
bit
be
better.
fine with that. I think.
That's what I saw when the clash happened.
But they've
I
got
was
to
like,
play.
well,
That's the thing. They haven't qualified. Greyhounds haven't qualified
For EPL.
for EPL.
Yeah, of
EPL
course.
stage 2, right? It's not a
Yeah,
There's
it's
still a team.
It's
Yeah.
the same 4
Determined.
teams.
and all
It's-
4 teams want the European boot camp.
I mean,
thing,
obviously.
which is
Obviously.
there you go.
Mm.
Yeah, all of
If
them
I had a
want-
choice between Europe and China, I'd probably choose Europe just because it's the better Counter-Strike. You can just get any other team in Europe to verse you in practice.
Well, either way, teams don't want they want to have their cake and eat it too, right? They want both. We want them to have both as well. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
I think we're advocates of that. Obviously, we want just the scene in total to not feel though it's missing out on anything.
I want what's best for the players. I don't want what's best for any particular TO or like what hurts someone's feelings. Like I just want the players to get as much international exposure as they can get.
Well, ultimately, you want the
Exactly.
buy-in from the players, right? Like for that tournament to be successful, because the players are they're part of the product.
Exactly.
So if you want the tournament to be deemed as a success, you want the buy-in from the players. You want them there. You want them producing the best content,
Mhm.
saying that this competition is the best, or whatever you want it to be.
Yep.
Because you've got them there, and you know that they're.
And the thing
They
is,
want to
there's
be
no,
there.
there's no promise that Extremesland comes back to Australia next year.
There never is with a
There
lot
never
of these
is, right?
competitions.
EPL, pretty solid chance, maybe, right?
Well, it's confirmed already with all the dates,
Yeah.
and
There you go.
there you go.
So, we got to support these opportunities while they exist. Otherwise, look, this company doesn't even exist anymore, but do you remember EFrag and the TWC, the World Cup?
Oh yeah. The EFrag
2
World
years
Cup.
in a row, I was the captain, and I got to choose the team to represent Australia.
And none of them were ever available.
And they all said yes, and then they're all like, sorry, we've got competing dates. And then both times I had to say, sorry, guys, we can't send a team.
Mm.
Now,
Oh.
don't worry that tournament was a bit trash and no one got paid and stuff. But
This was to say they miss out on
it
anything.
would have been good, right? And so it didn't come back again. but we didn't support it. We were pretty lucky to get asked the second time, to be honest.
Well, I was going to say we kind of dodged the bullet with
Dodged
that
the
one.
bullet, but you know, competing is
But yeah,
competing. Those
it's-
players
it's-
still would have been able to go overseas and play,
And
they
that
just
was
wouldn't have
even-
got any money for it.
in the early days as well.
Yeah,
So,
super early days. But
Look, yeah. I mean, this has been an interesting episode. I mean,
Tangent.
Mac, just to sort of round things out a little bit, obviously, did you have any anything in the mailbag this week? Was there even a mailbag this week?
Wait, how long have we been going for?
Hmm?
I thought we were only like half done. Anyway.
no, we've been going for like an hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. Interesting. We do have stuff in the mailbag. Where is my mailbag? All right,
There's-
sorry.
yeah,
Ian's been
he's
playing with
digging.
my mailbag again.
Yeah, you can't even see your mailbag.
Oi.
I wish Ian would play with my mailbag.
This is,
I mean,
uh,
what? Hello?
This is the magic of show business, Jim. I can see.
What, you want to direct everyone to YouTube to see the magic?
I am the magic. I am the last one.
Let me just double check. No one did it.
I am the last
Oh,
one.
my buddy. Other one as well. Good,
All
no
right.
one did. All right, awesome.
That's
So, we do have a couple. So we'll start with Tag, old mate Tag. We love old mate Tag. Thoughts on ways players can start being proactive on brand building, how to start, what to do.
Start.
That's when you say brand building, I assume what he's talking about is building the brands of. Talking about player
individual.
Yeah, I'd assume
Or
so.
just-
Their own. If you're
just-
talking about player brands,
If he's talking about players, he'd be talking about
get
individual
yourself,
brand.
get yourself out there.
Yeah, so that's what he's talking about, individual brands.
Yep.
Well, they need to be proactive in communicating with their organizations that they're working with around ways that they can extend their reach. A lot of these organizations have big followerships. I think Chiefs just hit 20K recently on Twitter, which is massive. I'd be working closely with my TO, but proactively. I'd be going to them going, guys, I really want to do some stuff around building my own brand. What can we do? What can we work with? How can we make this happen? And then actively doing stuff on their own as well. There's nothing stopping them creating content. You know, the old days of the frag videos and things like that. There's nothing stopping players from. And there's enough editors out there that will do this for free for a player because they're fans.
Yeah, I wish
They're
I
passionate.
paid for that.
Real talk though. Remember back in the day, there was a Swedish player, and everyone
Jagan X.
Jagan. He honestly, no word of a lie. People knew of him, not because of his results, but because of his frag movies, and as a result, got himself into the spotlight because of his frag movies.
I can bring that localized, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me
I was
here.
going to say, funny story about that. His brother was actually one of the Chill Side editors, and now actually works for DreamHack
Right,
in terms of
there
their
you go.
film
So,
editing.
An Australian player that did the same thing back when I was playing and things like that would be
Swedish players hate him.
Mont. I don't know if you guys remember Mont.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
this, yep.
Mont built
His
up.
montages.
Mont wasn't necessarily the greatest player, but he got himself into some decent teams off the back of just pumping out on Cybergamer and stuff like that, pumping out these frag vids. He did them so consistently that all people saw of Mont was these phenomenal clips of him doing all this amazing stuff.
Death Dog.
Yep,
Like back when he was
yep.
not necessarily at the peak of his career, but like towards the end, he was still relevant because he was like releasing these sick frag videos of him just like taking the peaking one beast, attempt.
Who?
Death Dog, Josh.
Oh,
In CSGO.
Piss off, Ian.
Yeah, eyes forward, Ian.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He to be honest, he played very little of CS:GO, but like had a crap load of frag vids out. Like it competitively played nothing, but was still people were still talking about him
Yeah.
because of his frag vids.
I swear Mont got into sort of Div 1
Bring
teams
him
at the
back.
time off the back of frag vids.
Yeah.
Because you'd verse him. I'd remember versing him in pugs and stuff like that and being like, this guy's not
he's
that
a
great.
fucking menace in pugs.
Not that great,
Yeah, man.
right? And then you'd watch his frag vids and go, wow.
He's a freak, Mont's a freak.
I think
So-
Mont went 22 for 0 against me in MM once.
Yeah.
Or ESCO.
But the point is, that's a form of content, right?
Yeah.
Like if for example, you're not quite there in terms of personality, and you want
Just be careful
your
to
game
say.
to speak for itself
I
first.
think Mont is a good example of like, just be careful to stay humble.
Yes.
be honest, like-
yeah.
You know, I remember so many. We were talking about this the other day. All these players are just like screw over their career with their personal brand, and like this happens when you hop teams and stuff like that. All back in the day, and then you just become like unemployable. Like you become this guy that no one wants to play with. So like if you're gonna do that frag movie route, sure. If you're gonna do personal branding, Instagram, whatever, sure. But like, just stay humble, man. Because if you go around going like, "I'm the best," and like, even if it's satirical, which I mean, it hardly ever is with those up and
honestly,
comers.
it depends on your messaging, right? Like
Yeah.
you've got to keep your messaging
I think
about trying to make it, not I've made it.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Like
Yeah.
you
or
don't just sit there and go, man, I've made it. Like,
And
look at me, I'm the
you
best.
can't be like
You're like,
I'm.
man, I'm just out here
Yeah.
trying to make it.
Yeah,
It's a really good point, Ian. We see a lot of kids particularly in your InstaFrag
I mean,
client and things like that.
yeah.
That
Give
are
me
coming up.
FPLC.
No, I'm not even talking about that. And
I'm
you know
just
who's a
kidding.
really good advocate for it because they've been through it is our housemate, Panic. You hear some of the stuff he says on streams now. He tells these kids, they all come to his stream, they love him because he's, edgy.
He's
right?
streaming their games.
But he straight tells them, he go, guys, you can't behave like this. Look what it did to my career. Look what's happened to me. Look how many teams that I've been through because of not my talent, because he is very talented, but it's some of the other stuff that he did earlier in his
But it's
career.
just like telling players that you are better than them and you should be in a good team. Like stuff like that. Like that's what Mont used to be like, right? He used to like maybe he wasn't the best socially, and so he'd be like, I'm so good, and the frag movies and the fans got to him, and then he was just like, I'm so good, you guys are trash, why don't you guys do you ever talk to a player after they just lose a game and sometimes they'll just be like, oh, my team is so shit. And it's like that kind of attitude is like literally why you won't be in a good
I
team.
know players who literally quit Counter-Strike to play individual games.
Yeah.
Because they like,
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, I thought about it.
to be honest, I actually had
Mont did that. He
That's-
went and
yeah,
played
he went
with
Street Fighter
Street
out.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like, well, my team's crap. I can only ever be as good as my team, right? Like that's to be honest, that's a reality, but it's also a crap mentality.
Yeah.
But then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to StarCraft. I'm going to go to a fighting game. I'm going to go to a game where the onus is on me and only me, and I will better myself, through my own trials and tribulations. It won't be accredited to anyone else.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next, Mac?
All
What do
right,
we
cool.
got?
So yes, just make frag movies to build your brand. That's what we're.
Well, just
Oh,
start somewhere.
Yeah,
Work
that
with
was
your
just-
orgs as well.
just-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
work with your orgs. They've got creators
It was
who
TLDR.
want, like, you have a creative in your org. They want to be creative. Work
can't-
with them.
And
Be
if
creative.
you don't, you
come up
can
with something together.
What if
just
it's not
put stuff on
Counter-Strike,
Twitter
though?
yourself?
You can't make a frag.
Exactly.
I'm just saying,
for other
like,
games.
you have creatives. If you're in an organization,
can.
you're lucky to have a creative. Work with
Dota 2
them
frag movie.
and be receptive to their ideas because, let's be real, if you're struggling, you haven't got any ideas of your own, might as well rely on a creative.
Make content, be funny or something.
But don't be
Maybe.
cringe.
Make content.
But
be
just
fun.
don't be cringe, boys. Just don't be cringe at the end of the day, please. Thank you.
40
Anyway,
48
Spawn
likes.
Lol is asking, what are your guys' thoughts on Worlds?
What's
On
that?
Worlds.
What's
On
League of
Worlds.
Legends.
League
League of Legends. You watched any?
I actually
watched
haven't watched
some-
any. Sorry, Jake.
I watched a bit. I can't remember the team names. It's teams I've never seen before.
I watched
So-
the Mammoth games.
Last time I tried to
I
talk
missed
about
those 'cause they
Worlds,
were
it
on
didn't end
something
well,
else.
so I don't know.
It was really close for Mammoth to actually make it out of groups, which would have been a huge story for Oceanic League of Legends.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the three-way tie that happened, they didn't end up winning the matches they needed to win after that and didn't make it through. So it's sort of the same old story. Again, OCE goes to Worlds, don't make it out of groups.
Oh,
I think overall, if you want to talk about just like a really well-produced esports tournament, Worlds is great. It goes for quite a long time, though.
Yeah, it's still going, right?
No,
No, it's done?
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure it's-
there you go. I thought it was still just
pretty
going.
sure it's done. Actually, I don't know, Matt.
Maybe it's on
So-
right now.
It could be. Look, I think it's done by all reports. I'm pretty sure it's over.
Yep.
We've got some really good talent in the League of Legends space that get opportunities at Worlds, which is always exciting. And I'm talking about the on-screen talent, people like Spawn,
All right. Yeah.
people like eGym and things like that who got opportunities over there once again.
Your boy Rusty missed out this time, though.
Yeah, that's what happens though. We have
Yeah, I know.
we have
It's
so
a
many
shuffle.
so much Aussie talent.
It's
Wasn't
almost
he a
like
coach?
it's almost like
He
we're
did
a
some coaching
talent
as well.
farm.
yeah.
He also did the casting. But yeah, look, well produced tournament once again. You know what? Yeah, I watched the Mammoth games. A little bit upset they didn't make it through, but it is what it is. They put on a good showing. Yeah, and like I said, the on-screen talent that we have, you guys all do a great job. So big shout out to you guys, and
Same with Dota 2.
hopefully next year we can we can get out of groups.
Yeah, and I specifically tuned in every game I knew that Jake was casting. I can't remember the teams that were in it, but it was good. I love the tri-cast thing they do. They have
I do.
The two color and one play by play.
I actually really enjoyed TriCasts as well.
Yeah.
So much I bought a TriCaster, but
Yeah,
the
weird flex. But okay.
it's a weird flex, yeah. Monk ass.
So
What was it? Two
But-
color?
I'd like to see things like two color one play by play. So the color guys just talk about what's happening.
It's
Yeah,
like
so-
having two
with each other.
analysts on
Yeah.
the desk bouncing off each other for the analyst section, and then play-by-play does his thing.
Non-stop
It's-
filling, and then one guy speaks a lot really
Yeah,
quickly
couldn't
while
do
there's a
that.
little
You wouldn't
fight.
be able to do that.
It's
in
cricket
Counter-Strike.
comment. Yeah, I was gonna say cricket commentary.
I would do
Okay.
cricket commentary. I mean, I always thought like we talked too much during Counter Strike.
But that's also just like going no majors club. Anyway, a follow up to that question by the big man MJ. He said, "Yeah, the StarCraft 2 World Championships is live right now. Hella excited. So please, ES Club official, what are your thoughts on Worlds? Will a non-Korean upset?" So
Well,
are you
is that
guys
about-
in touch with StarCraft 2?
Okay, this has caught me off guard a bit. Now
I
I
haven't touched StarCraft in a
Hardly an
while.
upset.
unfortunately.
so obviously Ian here doesn't really
Not
do
since
much
Brood War.
esports outside of CSGO.
Oh, okay.
I think that's pretty fair.
No, continue with your point before I
Yeah.
destroy you.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I was going to say this is one of the few esports titles that I'm not up to date on. I'm not too sure what's going on. I do know that Legacy has some StarCraft talent.
Yeah,
Pro.
I believe that
Probe, yes.
quite like good talent as well.
very good talent.
I know that from I met him at IEM recently.
You're probed.
I got probed. Also,
probation.
Soju from Avant actually lives, shares a housemates with
Okay.
the StarCraft player. So I do know that we have some good talent there. I have not been following the scene though, so I'm not sure the results.
Bring back Legionnaire. That's all I'm gonna say.
So Ian, please enlighten me. Please,
Okay,
absolutely
so
destroy me.
basically, what's been going on in the StarCraft 2 world is that a South Korean has literally won every single tournament up until this year.
Interesting.
And they've had their first ever foreigner win a tournament. And that's why it's interesting that MJ's like, oh, will we have a Korean upset or a foreigner upset? It's like,
Yeah.
bruh. it's not an upset.
It used to be like that with CS, like a non-Swedish team. What is this?
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I reckon the Korean dominance is over. I'm sorry.
It's done.
Good.
Yeah, I can't wait till it's like Koreans come third for the first time. It'll be like crazy stuff.
And Ian can speak
That was-
for all of us uninformed.
And
Well,
Protoss is OP. So.
I was going to say like that's some pretty interesting information.
It's
I
the
appreciate it,
bro
but I'm not sitting here feeling destroyed. I thought,
nah,
I thought it'd be more.
couldn't do it to you. Sean.
nah,
Oh,
thanks,
man.
bro. You're
Oh,
such a sweetheart.
the resource heavy Protoss for life.
So what's next?
Mab's got a pop quiz for you guys.
Oh,
pop
here we go.
quiz.
So, online servers at LAN, playing on laptops, and 144 hertz monitors with HDMI cables. What year is this?
What is this?
What year is this?
Can you repeat the
Why
question
is he
again?
doing this to me? I don't want to go back.
He's triggered.
He knows.
That's literally the
Even I
tournament
know.
that
It's
Ian played in, right?
PAX 2016?
I actually don't remember that tournament because
it wasn't 2016. It was
20
PAX
No,
2015.
I was not in the team in 2016.
I just had a stab because I can't remember.
It was
Yeah.
because I was at PAX 2016. It was PAX 2015.
2015.
It was held at the MSI booth. It was Cyber Gamer Nationals.
It had zero competitive integrity. It was just there to be a display.
Well,
cabinet.
XL5 didn't even turn up
Yeah.
after the first day performance.
All
that's
right, cool.
Old-
Well-
old mate Destiny.
You're successful with your answers. Good job, boys.
Thanks.
I remember I was there. I casted it remotely from Brisbane with Mav doing production for me.
Oh, really?
We had a
Oh, there you go.
conversation the other day, and I was like,
You blocked me on Twitter after that
me?
because I liked a few of the tweets that
Yeah.
were shit talking it.
Yeah, look, they weren't, but it wasn't a good tournament. And I spoke to.
That's the one that Chiefs won, yeah?
He didn't unblock me. He didn't unblock me from Twitter until the following year in July after the AU and NZ champs that we commentated on.
that I wasn't even in.
No, but we were both on the analyst desk.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
2016 AU
Well,
and
you know,
NZ
that's
season
what
1.
happens. You block someone, you forget about them, and then you meet them, and you're like,
Oh, he's got really interesting, relevant, and
No,
informative
it's just
opinions
like,
about
oh.
Counter-Strike. It's almost like he sees the same way as I do.
no.
Jim's just there
All
stroking
right,
it,
well,
ladies and gentlemen.
Like, oh, we're in
Speaking-
the same room.
Speaking of relevant opinions, Sweet CS has asked, why is the best burger a Whopper?
It isn't, but
It isn't? Well, what's your
It's a Whopper
rebuttal?
with cheese, you fool.
it's the chook.
This has been a bit of a question on Twitter lately. I've seen old mate upstairs, Tyson, trying to say that the fillet of fish is the best burger.
He's wrong,
Yeah, he's
categorically.
wrong.
That's because
yeah.
he drank alcohol on the weekend, and it's
He came out of his room.
messed up with his meds. So
Oh, okay.
now he's on Twitter. So give it a couple of days, he'll relax, and we won't hear from him again.
Well, that got real.
Till the
Anyway,
next
what's your
party.
favourite fast food burger? Has to be from a chain.
Has to be from a chain. It has to be
Zinger, the Zinger.
either the... I've got two. It's actually the McFeast. Because that
Okay.
is that is like literally McDonald's version of a Whopper.
Bring back the McOz. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't mind the old pineapple and beetroot in a burger with bacon
Don't like pineapple and beetroot in a
pickles.
burger.
and mayonnaise.
What else is there?
Or just the humble Big Mac, right? Like back when they also
I like Big
back in the
Macs.
day when you used to substitute the chicken fillets in as well
Never.
for the
You
beef.
had your mate that worked at Macca's, and you're like, oh, can you just
It's like the secret menu.
slip some chicken in there
No,
instead?
they charge you
no,
extra for it.
if anyone can order a burger from McDonald's, it's Sean. He knows what's up
I actually
Do
like
I?
the Angry Whopper as well.
with the
It's a good one.
Big Mac sauce. And
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Minus
Yeah, yeah,
onions plus like
Yeah,
plus,
extra-
onions,
plus
extra
another
magic
Big Mac
sauce.
inside.
yeah.
Well, mate, we
Doing a
should
Big
start
Mac,
a
getting the section
second
going.
parallel
Actually,
podcast and just talk
Talk
about
about
food.
food.
A new
Mate,
vertical.
I'd do
Love
it.
But I actually agree.
Esports
I agree
social
with what
eating
Ian
club.
said. I think a Zinger's a pretty good
Esports.
choice as well.
It's just
Eat
e-
sports.
except it's gotten
Social
so
club.
small. It's so small now.
Yeah, it is. It's tiny.
It's like
Well, there you go. Sweet. So there's your answer.
from a chain.
So Artemis has said, why does
Oh.
Jim still keep trolling the WPGI Twitter in the early hours of the morning?
It wasn't
Because
early.
he gets these responses. Because literally people will then ask him and he loves it.
Well,
He just wants attention.
Yeah.
well, it might
Well.
not be entirely a troll, but whatever.
Shut up, Jim.
No, it may not. We'll see.
Yeah. Just
We'll see.
Hey, I reckon just you never know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah.
Artsy babe, so you
The
never
fact that
know.
Ian's in on this, I mean, it's like, obviously, I mean, if you can't,
It's
if
almost
you
like
can't
he,
put one and one together, ladies and gentlemen.
it's almost
then-
like he has a platform,
Yeah.
almost, to run it.
What's the point of
almost.
even trolling now? You might
Yeah,
as
he
well just
literally
say,
just spoilt it.
Yeah, Sean's still triggered.
Instafrag, WPGI, coming soon.
All right, well, there's an
I'm
announcement.
glad he keeps
That was amazing. Thank you for going over that
His
one.
jokes
And
just get-
The
we
funny
have-
thing is, they still won't
They
prack.
won't, no,
They still won't prack
Well,
for
it's
it.
not even that, Ian. They won't even know if we're still trolling or not. At
His
this point,
jokes
like-
just get worse and worse all the time. I don't know why we just send him to like the US or something.
What happened
Oh,
to that
I'm
bloody?
gone,
We
don't
need
worry.
the coat guy back. The
The code guy.
the
Coat
pillow
guy.
coat. The pillow coat, Sean.
almost thought he said the Coke guy. And I'm like, wait, what?
Whoa,
What are you talking
no,
about?
It's
no,
the other guy with the petticoat. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That dude roaming around outside bloody the casino at PAX at 4 a.m. Everyone at PAX who was at the casino at 4 a.m. outside knows who I'm talking about too. So
I
that's the
wasn't there.
unfortunate part.
Oh no.
Okay, and the final question from your boy Josh Nathan at Dweg CSGO. If Australia was to host another Tier 1 event, e.g. IM Sydney in 2020, where would be the best locations? No, where would the best
Dweg.
locations be in Australia to hold the event? Does it have to be at Sydney/Kudos again?
It's Lidcombe. For sure.
It doesn't have to be a CSGO
It's
event.
Canterbury Sports Club.
Canterbury Sports Club.
Canterbury.
Yeah, you know.
Oh,
the
down the
one?
road.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And Mav said
Place is wild.
it has to be Melbourne. Changed my mind.
It has to be Melbourne.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. I feel like if there was to be another one, from all the places I've been personally, Melbourne is the most convenient.
Look, any reason to get out of Sydney is good by me. So
Yeah.
Melbourne, sweet.
Sweet.
Wow. I thought Perth University would.
He couldn't see.
You mean UWA?
Yeah.
I mean, I
University
It's
of
a
West-
beautiful campus.
It
I
is.
honestly would
Only their
say
IT work.
I
on
would say
Sundays.
Perth is a good spot for it because it would be cheap and
Ooh.
It'd be expensive to fly everyone that wants to go
But
watch
cheap
it there.
once you get there.
It's cheap once you get there, but also once you're there, like you're there. You know, no one lives there, so no one's.
There's no way.
no
So
one's
then we
going
won't
home
come back
after
to
You
the
can have-
East
you-
Coast.
you
We'll
can
stay
have
on the
whole
West Coast.
city
Yeah,
to yourself.
What I'm saying is, no one's going to go home after the comp, so they're all going to get forced to go out for the after party.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ah.
True. True. True.
And the Europeans got nowhere to go. There's only the casino. Like, what else do you do?
Well, okay. Perth it
Is
is.
that the
Or-
last question?
Oh, that
That
is
is-
it.
That was it.
Right.
Oh, well,
Alright.
there's one more from
You
Jess,
did Darwin.
and she is slightly uninformed because Llamas and Noobster are currently trialing for GZ, but they also need to trial people in officials because they don't have a full roster. And she said, why is GZ the best new team, and why is it because Llamas is on it? And I was like, well, you know, you're wrong.
Hashtag
and you're wrong.
ad.
And, you know, they're not actually in the team just yet.
There you go.
So-
Perfect answer. There you go,
Oh,
Jess.
you've answered your own
Jess
question.
gets on the podcast once again. Congratulations to Jess.
Good on you, Jess.
Now we just
Shout
need
out to Steely.
Stop.
My Lego.
Stop daring her to steal the Star Wars figurines.
She's stolen my Lego twice.
It's all right.
If I dared her
She's
to
bought you
jump
some
off
new
a
Lego,
bridge.
so
Yeah, look, man.
It's actually pretty cool.
I
And
know.
just-
I've only
just to
been around it.
complete the Not Another Podcast bingo card, we're going to mention Giles and Taylor. So hi Giles and Taylor, just needed to mention you because you get mentioned on every cast, and Jess got mentioned, so it's only fair.
All right, there we go. We are complete in our podcast. Special mention, of course, as we said earlier in the show, for their continued support. Thank you to Skrilla, who have been awesome to us. There you go. But they have been huge supporters of us in our early days of content. We've grown alongside them, and they've been making a splash in the scene with the level of support they've been giving to local creators as well as ourselves. So shout out to them, and thank you very much for the first 10 episodes. And, if you are interested in esports betting and esports fantasy leagues as well, they do offer those, so please check them out, and do remember, gamble responsibly. Gents, it's been an absolute ball. We've shot ourselves around the grounds, and I think we've sort of, in a roundabout way, got around eXTREMESLAND eventually. I know that really bugged Sean.
Took over an hour,
Yeah,
but we wrapped it up.
but we did. We wrapped it up. We are the Esports Social Club, and we appreciate your support. It has been an absolute pleasure. Gents, any final closing thoughts before we
I don't
depart?
know, follow me on Twitter or something. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Nah.
So he's hungry. He's thirsty. Congratulations to Ash, who is the first female CSGO player to win a Nats.
Congratulations.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. And she played well. Well deserved.
Against quality competition.
She certainly did. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. That is it in the wide world of esports for the Esports Social Club. We will catch you next time.